on the way up the road to Madame Jeannie's. And it was a couple of days after I think we split up with Madame Jeannie's. But there was that many of them. That many people you knew, you know.
Mm. So, and then this is, I think this is Yvonne's, no, that's Louisa's report. And then Yvonne, the younger sister, also has got your name, Allan Cowan, Remick Street, Glasgow, Duncan Gregg, Craig Miller, Edinburgh, John McCubbin, Bobby.
Did the young one know one at work in the Bon Marché?
Yes, that's right.
That's right.
That's right. Yeah. See, it says here. Where is she? It says where she worked somewhere or what her job was here. Oh no, that's Louisa. Did you know this man, Émile Toussaint, as well? Émile Toussaint. Man called Émile. No. No.
No.
And then here was your...
We had two come one night with two Polish pilots, Stefan Tominski and Mikhail Kowalski.
Ah, yeah, I've got, yeah.
And got shot down over.
Remember some of the things you went through?
Recognize those names when you said that there?
Yeah, they're here, look.
All right.
There's Kowalski. What about Kowalski? I think he mentions your name, Kowalski. Look.
No.
Sergeant A. Cowan.
Oh, right.
He says he saw you. 2 Scots soldiers had already been there for 18 months. Sergeant A. Cowan, 4 Camerons, and Private Bobby B. Conville. And then here's a picture of him. Squadron leader he became, Michael Kowalski. Lived in Canada. Moved to Canada after the war. Must have been, look at all these medals.
Oh, look at the medals, Dad.
Aye.
And here's the other Polish pilot, Tommy, quite a good one because of grandmother. That's grandmother in 1939, I think, with my mother and sister.
Oh,
so
right.
they left soon after that to go to England. This is in the park in Brussels.
Uh-huh.
So that's your sister?
Yeah, my sister Mary. So
Uh-huh.
she was 18 years older than me. So
All right.
she was born in Brussels in 1931.
Oh, of course,
yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
1931.
Yeah.
Just flicks for the book for me.
Sorry?
Just flicks.
There are a few. That's Yvonne. Yvonne Deloge, the sister, the younger sister.
Younger sister.
Yeah. And that's my grandmother, Madame Deloge.
Uh-huh.
There, that was when my mother and father got married. And these are my parents in Brussels. But this is Louisa, probably in the 1980s. Yeah. Louisa, she was a bit older then than when you knew her.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And that's my grandmother some years before. She'd be a bit younger than when you knew her. And then this is in the First World War. This is the 3 sisters and their mother in the First World War.
Yeah.
Camera and say, I don't know, bonjour madame or something, and then we'll give it to, then we can show it to her. So she knows you're Alan's family. I'll give you a 1, 2, 3. You ready? Yeah? Okay.
Bonjour, madame.
1, 2, 3.
Bonjour,
madame.
Okay, let's do one more, and it's going to be straight to the camera, straight in the lens. Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Bonjour, madame.
Good. Okay. And in your own time. Okay, are you happy? Do you want to deliver a message?
Hello, Louisa. Yes. Thanks very much for all the thanks. We're going down the line with it. Never forget it. My memories will live forever. I hope this finds you in the best of health. And please, I hope you keep in the best of health. I don't know how I am myself. I probably won't last long, but however, I'll never forget your memories of travelling with you down the line and the narrow escapes we had when the German officer stopped us and the police, and we managed to won our way out of trouble with your help, till we got out down to the south of France, where we left you in the south of France, and you had to go back up again. So that was the last we seen of you, and we wish you all the best.
Super.
Thank you.
The darling. Well, now Scottish TV before This Is My Moment in half an hour. More emotional stories in Find Your Family.
Daring wartime escapes, heroes from the Titanic, and a rock and roll legend. Welcome to Find Your Family.
I never had a dream come true till the day that I found you. Even though I pretend that I've moved on, a part of me will always be with you.
Tonight, prepare to be all shook up as we reveal the secrets in Elvis's past and why you could be related. From France to Scotland, from Belgium to Poland, a wartime tale of bravery and sacrifice.
So my grandmother would have left this house in October 1941. For the last time, she would have opened the door and she wouldn't have come back again.
Now, many families have things in their past which are simply too painful to talk about. For John Clinch, it was the fact that his Belgian grandmother had died in Auschwitz. She'd been sent there for helping British prisoners of war escape from Nazi-occupied Europe. Now, this was about the only fact that John knew about his grandmother, so he asked Find Your Family if we could help him discover what she was really like and why his family had never talked about her.
In 1940, as Hitler's army pushed forward through France, pockets of British soldiers were captured and marched back to Germany. Some of them managed to escape and were hidden by local people who risked terrible consequences if they got caught.
I knew my grandmother had kind of disappeared into a concentration camp somewhere, but my mother and her sisters really didn't know very much what had happened to her. I think they really perhaps didn't want to know the real details, and so it was only after they'd all died, my mother died in 1997, that I decided I would really try and find out as much as I could about what happened.
German trial records show that John's grandmother and his aunts were caught hiding escaped soldiers. John asked Find Your Family to find out if any of those soldiers were still alive. We found Allan Cowan at the ripe old age of 89, and we took John to Glasgow to meet him and his family.
Hello there.
Hello, John. How are you?
How do you do?
It's pleased to meet you.
Pleased to meet you. Very nice to
Would
meet
you
you.
like to meet the family then?
Yes, well,
This is my brother Allan.
Hello, Alan. How do you do?
Yeah, absolutely brilliant to meet you. My oldest daughter, this is Audrey.
How do you do?
Hello, Audrey.
John was greeted by Allan's children, grandchildren and great-grandchildren, all of them born because Allan made it safely back to Glasgow.
And then there's someone special I'd like you to meet.
Ah.
So would you like to come with me?
Yeah, thank you.
This is John.
Hello.
Oh, hello.
You must be Allan Cowan.
Yes.
I'm very pleased to meet you.
Pleased to meet you, yeah.
Very pleased to meet you indeed.
Yes.
I'd like to talk to you about some old days, I think.
I'd escaped twice and got caught twice. Big German officer says to me, I'm British, Sir John, he says, for you, he says, the war is just finished, he says. We find plenty of work for you in Germany, you know. So I says, I'm not going to Germany, I says to him. I says, I belong to Glasgow, I says, and Glasgow's that way.
Allan escaped his German captors on the 4th of July 1940 whilst being marched through Belgium. He dived into a field and began a mad dash for freedom.
And then on the 12th of January, a Belgian organisation took us to Brussels, where we lived in various houses. And one of the houses was my grandmother's. Yeah. So you didn't get back to Brussels after the war?
No.
At all? Yeah, I knew my aunts. My aunts came back because they were put on trial, you know, in Essen. Yeah, all 19 people, and they were imprisoned for the rest of the war, really.
Oh.
Yeah. And many of them didn't come back. Grandmother didn't come back.
Dad, are you not wanting to show John some of your photographs that you've got?
Oh, aye.
Yeah.
Here you are. That's some of the... I think this is possibly some of your aunts, actually.
Maybe. That is definitely my grandmother, isn't it? It's definitely her there.
Aye.
Allan gave John this picture of himself with John's grandmother. It's the last known photograph of her alive. Armed with this, it was time for Find Your Family to take John to Brussels, to his grandmother's home, where the soldiers were hidden.
Before the break, we were with John Clinch in Scotland as he met Allan Cowan, who was one of the Second World War veterans. His grandmother helped escape from occupied Europe. Allan gave John a photograph taken in Brussels in 1941, the last known picture of his grandmother. Well, armed with this, John set off for Brussels to see where his grandmother lived and to trace her final journey to Auschwitz.
Well, it's a very amazing feeling, really, to be back at the house where she was all those years ago. I don't think the house has changed very much at all. This is probably the same front door.
John was hoping that the photos of his grandmother were taken here.
This is the flat. This is where she must have lived. And then through here's maybe where the photographs were taken. Oh, yeah. Definitely the same place. The wall over there is exactly the same. So behind there must be where they're standing. So this must be where the pictures were taken. Oh yes, you can see the tiles along the top. It's just like stepping back in time.
Shortly after the photographs were taken, Allan made his way back to Britain. The house was raided and John's 2 aunts were arrested. His grandmother then set off to find out what had happened to them.
So my grandmother would have left this house in October 1941. For the last time, she would have opened the door and she wouldn't have come back again.
John's gran went to the German authorities.